I was 17 the first time someone in authority told me straight to my face that I wasn't built for success. Not yelled, not mocked, just said calmly, professionally, like a diagnosis. The kind of sentence that follows you for years if you let it. I remember walking out of that office thinking, okay, so this is how the world decides who matters and who doesn't. Quietly, confidently, without ever asking you who you really are. That memory came back to me years later on a random Tuesday afternoon, the day I walked into my house early and heard my son laughing in a way I hadn't heard in a very long time. Real laughter. The kind that isn't trying to impress anyone. The kind that stops you in your tracks because you didn't realize how much you missed it. My son's name is Lucas. He was 10 at the time. Bright, sensitive, the kind of kid teachers described as polite but disengaged, which is just a nicer way of saying invisible. His report cards were full of comments about potential, but his grades told a different story. Math, especially, was a disaster. Red marks, meetings, subtle suggestions that maybe he just wasn't cut out for advanced learning. And I believed them longer than I cared to admit. That day, I followed the sound of his laughter down the hall past the study door that was usually quiet, almost sacred in its silence. I stopped when I saw the whiteboard, and I stopped breathing when I saw what was written on it. Symbols, diagrams, patterns layered on patterns. Not elementary math, not even middle school. This was high-level conceptual stuff, and standing there holding a marker like she belonged was Renee Walker, the woman I'd hired 3 months earlier to clean the house. She was black, soft-spoken, early 30s, maybe always careful not to take up too much space. And she was explaining something to my son with a kind of calm confidence I'd only ever seen in great teachers. Lucas wasn't just listening. He was arguing back, asking questions, testing ideas. His eyes were alive. I stood in the doorway, completely frozen. You know that feeling when your brain can't decide whether to panic or smile? Yeah. That happened. That night, curiosity got the better of me. I checked the old security recordings from the study. What I saw made my stomach twist. Every morning after I left for work, Renee was there, teaching. Not drilling, teaching. Letting Lucas fail without shame, guiding him back without judgment. She wasn't giving answers. She was giving him permission to think. When I asked her about it, she went still. Not defensive, not guilty, guarded. She said she was just helping out, that she liked puzzles that Lucas reminded her of herself when she was younger. It sounded rehearsed, incomplete. I did what people like me do when something doesn't add up. I looked into it. Renee Walker didn't exist before 4 years ago. Before that, there was another name, another life. Dr. Renee Wallace, a mathematician, a prodigy if you believe the papers. Doctoral research, publications, conferences. She had been on a straight path to a career most people only dream about. Then it all stopped. Her mentor died in what was ruled an accident. Her research vanished, and a man named Grant Holloway entered the picture. Grant was my business partner. Polished, charming. The kind of guy people trusted because he spoke softly and smiled often. According to the file, he'd offered Renee money. A lot of it. Not for collaboration, for ownership. Full control of her work. She said no. After that, the threats started. Subtle at first, then clearer. When her mentor died, the message became unmistakable. Renee disappeared, changed her name, took jobs that made her invisible, and somehow ended up in my house. When I confronted Grant, he didn't deny it. He leaned back in his chair and said, "She threw away her future. People like her don't get opportunities like that twice." He said it casually, like it was obvious, like the world made sense that way. That was the moment I stopped pretending this was just business. The pressure came fast after that. Anonymous complaints to child services, lawyers sending letters, a restraining order claiming Renee was exploiting my son. The story they painted was ugly and effective. A black woman manipulating a vulnerable child. A wealthy father who'd lost control of his household. People love a simple villain. The day they forced her to leave, Lucas broke. Not loudly at first. He just folded in on himself, repeating the same sentence over and over. She's the only one who makes me feel normal. That sentence still sits heavy in my chest. Renee packed one bag. She didn't argue. She didn't beg. She knelt in front of Lucas, told him he wasn't broken, told him this wasn't his fault, told him to keep asking questions no matter who tried to shut him up. Then she walked out of my house like someone who'd already survived worse. Grant thought that was the end of it. He thought I'd choose the quiet option. Protect the company, protect my image. Let the system do what it does best. He underestimated one thing. I knew exactly what it felt like to be told you don't belong. We went to court, not quietly, not politely. We brought emails, contracts, recordings, patterns. Turns out Renee wasn't the first person Grant had tried to crush, just the one who lived long enough to fight back. The courtroom felt cold. Grant's lawyers spoke smoothly, confidently. Renee testified calmly, told the truth without dramatics. About being threatened. About running. About teaching a kid because she couldn't watch him disappear the way she almost had. Then Lucas stood up. The judge tried to stop him. Lucas didn't yell. He didn't cry. He said Renee didn't cheat for him. She didn't give him answers. She gave him courage. He asked why helping someone think was considered dangerous. He asked why believing in a kid was treated like a crime. The room went silent. That was the turning point. The restraining order was lifted. Charges dropped. An investigation opened into Grant's businesses. The smile disappeared from his face for the first time since I'd known him. Renee came back a month later. Not as help, not as a secret, as family, as Lucas's teacher, as someone reclaiming a life that should never have been taken from her. We started a small program together for kids who'd been labeled difficult, slow, unmotivated. Funny how quickly those labels fall apart when someone actually listens. Grant is still fighting his legal battles. Some people still think Renee was wrong. Some think I went too far. Maybe that's the uncomfortable part. Because this story isn't just about one villain. It's about how easily we believe the wrong people, how quickly we decide who deserves protection and who doesn't. So here's my question for you. When someone is quietly erased, when power tells you to look away because it's easier, what do you do? Do you stay silent? Or do you step into the mess and say, no, this isn't right? Tell me in the comments. I want to know where you draw that line.